I sat down with America's only all-black swim team to talk about the waves they're making in college swimming. Howard University is the only HBCU or historically black college and universities that has a swim team. However, their rise to the front of Sports Illustrated has been quite unorthodox and has all been spearheaded by Coach Nick Askew. However, prior to Askew joining, the team was almost shut down in 2013, having not won a dual meet in 15 years. However, when Askew joined as head coach in 2014, he knew that changes needed to happen to revitalize this program, so he got to work. He rebuilt the program from the ground up, going as far as painting the pool himself, hiring a whole new coaching staff, and even bringing DJs to swim meets. After being featured earlier this year in Sports Illustrated, I knew that I needed to sit down with the team and figure out what's going on inside the walls of Burgem Pool. In this video, I sit down with head coach of Howard University Swimming, Nick Askew, and senior captain Mark Anthony Beckles to talk about what makes this program so special, the history of African Americans in swimming, and Howard University's secret sauce. Without further ado, let's dive right in to find out what makes Howard University's swimming team so special. Howard's rise to fame was far from expected. They were the nation's only HBCU swim team and wanted to make it known in hopes that others would follow suit. You see, for years due to slavery and segregation, African Americans didn't learn how to swim, causing a massive disparity in the sport of swimming that has impacted future generations. In fact, even when I looked at my own college swim team, who was considered diverse by many people's accounts, it was still just a bunch of white guys with a couple minorities scattered throughout. This needed to change. However, change is hard when of the nearly 300,000 competitive swimmers in the US, only 1.5% are black. At the college level, black swimmers only represent 2%, meaning that Coach Askew's team represents nearly 1/3 of all black swimmers in the NCAA.
I feel like the main problem isn't really the availability of swimmers, but more so just the availability of resources, funding, and support.
In 2013, Howard University's swim team was on the decline. After not winning a single dual meet in almost 15 years, the team was in pretty bad shape. Without proper leadership in place, swimmers were left with a coaching staff that was only part-time. It's for this reason that then Howard University tennis coach Nick Askew voted to shut down the team. However, in 2014, they put the resources behind them and had a fully funded coaching staff and turned to Askew to be the coach.
Prior to being offered the opportunity to be the head coach for the program, I had seen the decline, just noticing how unfair that was to the student athletes and seeing so many inspired, motivated student athletes come to Howard to pursue their collegiate swimming careers and not having the support and not having the resources in place. If you're not going to support, if you're not going to give these individuals coming in with such ambitions the things that they need to have in order to be successful, then I say just scrub it, because I'd rather see us just not have it and say no versus to continue to bring people in and kill their dreams. So that was really why I was an advocate for, shutting the program down.
Coach Askew knew he had a big hurdle ahead of him in order to break their 15-year losing streak.
We don't like to talk about that so much anymore.
It would take 2 seasons, but in 2016, the men finally snapped their dual meet losing streak. The year after, they won 5 meets. And then they just kept building and building and building.
Winning the conference championship and going to national, super nice, but we want more.
Howard swim meets are different than any other in the NCAA. For a school with only 10,000 students, on meet days, 2,000 fill the pool and make it a standing room only event, completely packing out the pool and surpassing attendance of even the nation's best programs such as Cal, Texas, and Stanford.
We had to improve the aesthetics of our facility. We needed to take away, the old drab gray tiling and gray look. And we were very fortunate during this time that the university was also rebranding. So we got to work, we painted the entire facility, we put the new branding up, we got new digital pace clocks instead of the analog ones that were there. Our swimmers and our divers needed to enjoy the space that they were. We wanted to change the environment for our swim meets. We've got to change the dynamic of swimming and make it more appealing to non-swimmers. The first thing we did is we have an on-deck DJ at every single one of our home meets. And that was something, that we brought in order to draw people in and hold them there. We can't change the length of a swim meet, right? We got to swim our events, but we can make sure that in the space where non-swimmers aren't sure what's happening, that they can be entertained. We had to have food available at the swim meet because too often you would lose spectators because, oh man, I'm hungry. I'm about to go. No, you don't have to leave because we've got food here, available. And then now we're to a point where every single one of our home meets is absolutely standing room only. We've sold out a swim meet at an HBCU in October at a dual meet. Wasn't an invitational where there were several meets. It wasn't a championship or anything. And we're very fortunate. We have 422 stadium seats. And at that meet, the Battle at the Burr, we sold over 2,000 tickets. We had over 1,200 spectators. We had an overflow space. We had a VIP lounge. I mean, we just really did it super huge to, again, create more excitement around the sport of swimming, and especially here at Howard University.
Howard Swimming is a true embodiment of success not coming overnight. However, it's the values that Coach Askew has instilled in his team that has propelled their success.
The team is like a family. When we always giving ourselves a little prep talk before swim meet, we would always say like we want to be like a well-oiled machine, telepathically just connected, and that's something that we could really feel and sense whenever it's time to compete. Like, nobody's at practice, it's just us and we're cheering. Like, stuff like that is what helps the team to really bond, even though it might not feel like it at the time.
January 2023, Sports Illustrated decided to share their amazing story with the rest of the world right ahead of their conference championships. I can only imagine the target that was put on their backs.
It's been an absolute whirlwind and such a positive one. Being able to have the author, Robert Sanchez, write just an incredible article that touched on the essence of who we are as Howard University Swimming and Diving, to see it have such an incredible impact internationally, where people, are commenting and, asking for more information about, who we are and what we're doing. We're so thrilled to have such a response like that. And yeah, we definitely felt a little bit of the pressure of now, oh, wow, other teams are on notice and things like that. But it was never in a negative way. It was kind of like, all right, now everybody knows. And now I've got to make sure I've got to be doing my best to be my best.
It was amazing. Sports Illustrated is one of the best places you could get recognized from in terms of just athletics. It felt good to know that we could perform under pressure by winning the championship after something like that happened. But it also came with a lot of the team feeling pressured right before the meet, because that's when the cameras were on deck. I would probably say like maybe 2 weeks before we traveled to go to conference, there was a camera on deck like every other day. And while we were trying to do things like our little visualization practices, stuff like that, like a camera is up in your face. So I don't want to say like that's terrible. Like, people have to do what they have to do to get the content that they need at the end of the day. You can see a lot of the team feeling a little bit pressured about it. Some people just had to come out of practice and just like catch themselves, then get back into it.
However, even before the article, Howard Swimming had made a name for themselves on campus.
We do get a lot of attention. People would be like messaging us on Instagram, just random people congratulating us, saying we're doing such a good job. Amongst the athletic department, there's like a form of respect that was cultivated up. Like within maybe the past 2 years, people never used to like know who we were. Like, we would go to the PT room and they asking like, what team are you on? Now you could definitely feel that sense of it being different. You just walk past somebody and they nod their head at you because, more than likely they know who you are because of what we've been doing. And it just feels good to at least like finally get that bit of respect that we think we deserve.
And at the NEC Championships in February, they backed up their Sports Illustrated article and won their first championship in over 30 years.
Winning the championship, being able to go to nationals, having an NCAA qualifier, all those things are amazing. Breaking records are amazing. We love those. But at the end of the day, we understand that we have an even bigger obligation to, the Black and brown community, to the minority community.
With African Americans in the United States drowning at 5.5 times the rate of their white peers, it's inspiring to see leaders like Coach Askew spearheading and challenging the status quo. But you see, it wasn't always like that. When European conquerors came to Africa in the 15th century, they found thriving swimming cultures in Western African coastal villages. However, they were robbed of these abilities due to slavery, and years without swimming caused the community as a whole to lose the talents as generations went on. Even after slavery, racism and Jim Crow laws in the South caused African Americans still not to have a place to swim, furthering the gap.
We can be standing as a representation, as an HBCU, as currently an all-Black team that is competing at the highest levels, that yes, you can, and you can do it really well. Those challenges are going to be there, and we're working with the states and legislation to institute or create legislation and laws within their states to make water safety and drowning prevention mandatory within the schools. Those are important to us. The drowning rates are ridiculous, especially in our community, and there's something that we can do about it, and we can do something about it now.
The impacts of slavery have caused African Americans not to pursue the sport of swimming and has left impacts on the community as a whole. But there has to be something more that we can do. In 2020, USA Swimming launched Black Leadership in Aquatics Coalition to help promote underrepresented groups in swimming. However, Coach Askew and Mark Anthony still think there's more that we can do.
I think there needs to be more HBCU swim programs, just period. That alone will increase the accessibility and inclusiveness of African American swimming, because if we have these HBCUs with just people there, out of a swim program, people are going to start swimming, people are going to start competing, and you never know where that could lead to in the next 20 years or so.
Minorities are underrepresented in the sport of swimming, and they're going to feel it. There's no way around it because it is the reality that we live in right now. But there are opportunities out there. You can pursue it to its highest levels. You just have to continue to embrace the challenges and surround yourself with support systems who are going to be able to understand a little bit better what you're going through, and seeing the images of individuals who are doing it at a high level. For anyone that's not part of the minority group, we have to, as coaches and swimmers, we have to be advocates for that diversity and being sympathetic to those different needs. We're all a part of this sport, and we can all find our spaces to be successful, but we don't want to be on that side that is being the barrier.
Success doesn't come by spending money. It's something a little bit deeper. Howard University's 6-lane pool that was hand-painted by the team is a testament to that. Their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the sport of swimming. There's something special in the waters at Howard University, and it's no wonder Coach Askew says nobody in America can offer what we have. The swimmers, the staff, and the fans have all bought into the school's program, and they're doing everything they can to bring swimming to the masses and inspire young kids to continue swimming. Not just African Americans, but everyone. I want to give a huge shout out to Coach Askew and Mark Anthony for coming on and sharing about their program's recent success, and I hope that they only compound and continue to build out such an amazing program. I also want to give a shout out to Sports Illustrated writer Robert Sanchez for sharing their amazing story with the world and inspiring this video. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel for more amazing stories in sports, interviews of athletes, and much more. And with that, I'll see you all next week.